Healing Half. My name is Mickey Spear. I am a grief musician, author, and talk show host. And we've got a phenomenal show planned for you guys today, talking about something that truly affects everyone who is a pet owner at some point. And that is what happens when your pet is dying. That is one of the most stressful things people go through. And you know what? We don't talk about it very well as a culture. So we've got the amazing Jenny Gott from Animal Intuition here with us tonight. And she's going to share all about that. That's her job. That's what she does day in and day out. So man, do we have a show planned for you. But before we get to the wonderful Miss Jenny, I would love to know, are you watching, whether live or as a replay? Just give me and Jenny a hello in the comments. We love to see who's there. I see a couple of you now, so welcome. And if you're watching it as a replay, please still comment as if you're watching it live. Jenny and I get notified, and then we can go back through and look at the comments. So it's always so amazing to be here. And before we jump in, I just want to introduce myself. If we are new and we haven't met before, my name is Mickey Spear. And when I was 13 years old, my mom passed away from cancer. I spent the better part of a decade pretending I was fine, running from my grief, and really trying to convince the world around me that I was fine too. Well, if you know anything about grief, and we're going to talk a lot about it tonight, you know that doesn't work. You have to process things in order to get through it. You can't just rock around it. So eventually I ended up going to counseling, working through a lot of mental health stuff. And I realize now the power of processing hard emotions. So I wanted to create a show that not only taught us how do we address our own wounds, and how do we help others with theirs? And together, those two are the main points of the Healing Half, which means my hope and prayer is that every single show you have a takeaway either for yourself that you can apply or that you can apply it to other people. So that's the show. That's who I am. Welcome once again. And if we haven't again met before, maybe you don't know this about me, but I am a musician, author. I do a lot of creativity stuff. I really enjoy creating for other people. And so in addition to my music and cards and everything that you can find in the comments section, please don't forget that I created these memory cards. As far as I know, they're the only ones on the market like it, even though they were in honor of July, which is Bereaved Parents Month. Truly, they go for anybody who has lost someone. And what these memory cards are, is they are a really unique opportunity for you to do three things. One, send somebody a card that you miss them. Oh, speaking of pets tonight, everybody say hi to Mr. Duke. He hasn't done this for a while. He must really be interested in what we're talking about today. That's a little dark humor. Sorry about that. But anyways, so one, this is a card that allows you to check in with folks. Two, it allows you to use their name. If you can see on the right-hand side, it says, the memory I have of blank. If you've known from a couple of our guests, in particularly my mother-in-law, Tammy, Alexia, who talked about miscarriage, as well as Donna Mathiowicz, anyone who's experienced child loss in particular has said the importance of using that person that they lost name, because they don't hear that anymore. So it gives you an opportunity to say that in an organic way. And then the last thing that these cards allow you to do, and again, this is not just for child loss, this is really for anyone. This allows you to share a priceless memory, even if it's as silly as just like the essence of a person and you don't really have a specific thing, just the fact that you are sharing and writing in that blank space with them this amazing memory that they maybe don't have before. This allows them to create a new memory for somebody that they desperately wish created new memories, but they can't because they've passed away. So again, if you haven't yet, be sure to check out those memory cards. We'll be talking about them a lot more, especially as we kind of continue to rebrand the show here in just a little bit. But I just wanted to let you guys know, yes, it's for Bereaved Parents Month. But again, like, I would love to get one of these cards from one of my mom's friends with a story on it, because that would be amazing. I would get to know her in a new way. And that's just my hope and my prayer for kind of all the things that I create, is to create things that allow that community, those two groups, to connect. So That's who I am. That's what I do. This is my cat, Duke. And now we are going to bring on the wonderful Jenny Gott to talk about something that is so needed, anticipatory pet grief. Jenny, welcome to the show.
Hi, thank you for having me.
Oh, it is so good to see you. Everybody in the comments, give Jenny a big hello, whether you're watching live or as a replay. Jenny, you've got quite the story and quite the passion. It's very unique. Do you mind just jumping right on into what do you do?
Okay, yeah. So Animal Intuition actually is a company that helps support animals, bringing out the best in them physically, emotionally, and behaviorally. And I do that through a variety of modalities, a lot of healing and body work. So pet massage, and there's just different forms of that. Yep.
You hear that,
Massage
Duke? Pet
cats, primarily
massage.
cats, dogs, and horses are who I work with. But a lot of clients come to me when they see a shift in their pet, and those senior years where you start to see a decline. And I have found over the years when I first started, and I could back up and share a little bit about my story if you want me to in a quick snippet, but through my own experiences with my own pets is really how I ended up forming Animal Intuition. And I had a dog, Tucker, and was faced with his mortality. And that was 15, 20 years ago, so a long time ago. And there weren't a lot of resources other than your standard and traditional vet care back then. That animal massage and chiropractic and acupuncture and in-home euthanasia and all sorts of, rehab services, they didn't exist, very, very limited, especially here in the Midwest. We weren't quite as progressive. So when I was faced with that, and there weren't really any great standard care methods for him, I started to do some more research. And in addition to that, I was also on my own healing path of, or wanting to be, I had a healthcare background and really wanting to find a way to bring that healing element into my career. And so it all launched kind of from Tucker back in 2005. And then in 2010 is really when I took that leap and went full time. And I had no idea that, I thought, oh my gosh, you're going to get snuggles and, warm fuzzies all day, and people, you get to work with them that love their pets. I mean, how wonderful could this be? And it truly is wonderful. I just had no idea what a need there was for that specific kind of support when your pet is declining, when they enter that hospice phase. It's kind of even a new term in the pet world, is saying my pet's in hospice. And what I do, there's the fundamental elements of doing the massage and that kind of stuff, but it's so much more than that. It's providing hope and guidance and resources and acknowledgement. I think it's becoming more and more that pets are family, right? And yet there's still this stigma of maybe a little bit of shame or embarrassment that we love our pets so much. And so we can't openly grieve. When we lose our grandmother, people, they're sad for us. And yeah, that's hard. You lost your grandmother or a parent like but it's just a dog, or you should be over that in a week, or not acknowledging what's happening as you're facing, their death and leading up to that. So it's super important. And I think that with over a decade of doing this full time, that people find so much support and comfort for their pet, but also I get a lot of comments and teasing saying, gosh, this is my therapy session, because they're heard, they're understood, and they're acknowledged, and their pain and their concerns are real, and they're valid, and they're heard. I think that's important.
Yeah, well, thank you so much for all the work that you do. Like you said, this is not talked about a lot. And I think so much of that, we've said this a couple times on our show, is people kind of think because it's common, it's not hard. Like, oh, well, a lot of people have lost pets before. And, well, that's just something that's just kind of part of life. And it's like, well, no, like, yeah, most people have lost their grandparent, but that doesn't mean it's easy or
Right.
anything like that. So I love that we are stepping into this conversation of this is important to talk about. These are hard seasons for both the people and the pet. And I'm so excited to kind of ask you about those two groups. So just thank you so much for all you do. And then I can attest, I'm not sure if you heard this story before, but I've shared it before and I just want to share it with other people. One of my biggest regrets from kind of my childhood is because after my mom died, I was pretty closed off emotionally. We had this dog and he kind of suddenly, his kidneys started to shut down. And it was one of those things that I didn't really let myself say goodbye. All of a sudden, it was like, okay, we're dropping Maxwell off at school, at the vet before school. And it was just like, I was in such a rush to like, oh my gosh, I'm going to be late to class. And like, blah, 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 blah. I was like, literally, like, we dropped him off and drove away. And I just like remember driving out, like, like kind of realizing in that moment, like, I made a mistake. Like, I needed to be with him and I needed to grieve him, but I rushed it and I went through that. And I feel like that's a lot of people kind of do, is they avoid feeling, they avoid all that.
Yeah.
So what I love about your mission is like leaning in and like giving people resources. So the kind of the first question that I would love to just dive right on in is, when a person is kind of going through like, oh my gosh, my dog has kind of crossed over, or any pet has crossed over into that hospice, like, this is not, we don't know when, but it's not like they're just going to miraculously recover.
Right.
Can you just give us like some of like the mindset that people and some of the stresses that people are going through?
Absolutely. Yeah. That's where a lot of, when they make that pet makes a shift, no matter what it is, if it's all of a sudden um, they can't run anymore to play ball, or the stairs become difficult, or they can't get on the bed anymore, that light bulb goes on. I mean, when we get a pet, we know we're signing up for likely having to say goodbye to them, but we don't think about that when we're embracing a new life and family member, even though we know that's going to be the reality at some point. And so when that shift occurs, it's almost like that it's anticipatory grief, really, but that you get a wave of real profound grief, that that your pet's time with you is limited and you have to face that. And so all of those feelings that you feel during grief after loss, you start to feel. So the brain fog and the paralysis of feeling overwhelmed, that helplessness. Oh my gosh, helplessness. I want to do everything for my pet. What can I do? They're hurting. I can't fix them. That is an unbearable pain, no matter who it is, if you love them. And so, I get emotional even just talking about it. So all of those things, and then that sadness that comes with knowing you're going to lose them. So all of those feelings are right there, even though that pet is still alive. And it's super hard to navigate that, because there isn't a path out that we want, right? Just like after we lose somebody that we love, there's no path to getting them back. And so it is. That's how there's a lot, and everybody has their own experience and their own feelings with that. But there's the roller coaster, and people can get stuck going down what I call the rabbit hole, right? Of those feelings. And part of what I help them do is to take that step back and breathe. I give them hope. Them coming to use, or giving them other resources, but if they come and see me, they're doing something, and that's important to them. They're doing something for their pet, so that's tangible and that feels good, and they know they're bringing their pet comfort, and then that brings them comfort.
Yeah.
And then I can help them kind of step back, take a breath, and say, okay, you have time still with your pet. You have to honor your feelings, and you're going to have those awful sadness and overwhelming feelings. They're going to come. Honor them, and then do your best to let them go and refocus on your pet while you still have them. Embrace
Yeah.
the time. Do your bucket list. You know, do the things that make you happiest. If it's a walk, maybe in a different way, or it's rolling the ball instead of using a chuck it, so they can still get it. But come back and be present with them.
That is
I know I
so
would totally win
cool.
so many
No,
circles there.
that's wonderful. Like you said, we cry on the show. I'm over here holding my Dukas, and I'm like, oh my gosh, like it's just so yeah, like you said, it's like one of those things where you see the train coming and it's just like, I can't get off this track. And so, for everybody listening, if you're watching live or as a replay and you've ever lost a pet, we would love to hear their names. This is a safe space for you just to type it in the chat. I know I've lost Cassie and Maxwell in particular. And I'm sure, there's a lot, like you said, I stare at my dog and my cats now, and it's like my heart is so big and it's so full for them. It's impossible to think of having to ever say goodbye, but it's almost like that thin veil between our present and what we know is on the other side. And it's not until you start to see those signs that veil starts to go thinner. And you're like, oh my gosh, I see what's always been there. But I just avoided it before. So I loved a lot of the tips that you gave in regards to like, that's the mindset that they're in. And I hope that all of us are connecting the dots on when we're talking to somebody with a pet in hospice to be extra kind to them. Can you maybe walk through what like a kind of a typical person could do for their dog or cat at home to make it more comfortable for the pet?
Yeah, absolutely. There's some kind of common things of like putting, I just made a post today about like you putting mats or rugs down because, for dogs in particular, they start to get less stable. And so on harder surface floors, making those kind of accommodations or using different doors so that there's less stairs. One for senior dogs is as you start to see them have a harder time, is shorter, more frequent walks. They can recover much easier and still get out there and enjoy and sniff and get that fresh air. But the long walk that they might be used to do with you, if it's too long, their body, it might take a day or two for them to recover, where if you cut that walk in half, and then did a morning and an evening walk, they can recover within an hour or two. So sometimes a change in diet is important. They're maybe not tolerating things as well, or their appetite's changed. So sometimes we can do that. Becoming knowledgeable about what the signs of pain are, whether it's a cat, a dog, or horse, whatever your pet is, look that up. I've got a blog on my website about it for dogs, and it's not, they can't always scream ouch and say, hey, I'm hurting. They show you in different ways. Sometimes that is appetite, that we were just talking about. So if you become more knowledgeable about that, you can see those signs, and then you can find resources that fit with what's important to you and what resonates with kind of your care. I mean, vets have medicines, and there's so many more resources out there for different things to help support them. So they're just a couple of different things that you could do.
Oh, that's wonderful. And I'm just so grateful for you. I'm definitely gonna check out that blog because like you said, when you feel helpless, sometimes just knowing you can do a little thing in the like to help out, like gives you just a little bit of power back. So that is such good advice. Thank you so much. Another kind of just like this question, I'm kind of following this path in my brain of okay, we go from a healthy older dog to all of a sudden that veil has been removed and you see, we've got some pretty clear signs. The vets said it, it's like, it's going to happen, but it's not there quite yet. You're starting to feel all those emotions, all those things. As we get closer to the finish line. That's not a great way to say that. Ignore that line. I'm not sure what to say. As we get
the Rainbow
closer,
Bridge, maybe.
the Rainbow Bridge. Yeah, as we get closer to the Rainbow Bridge, are there specific things you kind of encourage people, like any conversations or documentation or anything that families or individuals can do to really make sure they don't do what I did with Maxwell, which is
Yes.
like, okay, bye.
Absolutely. You know, I'm always encouraging them, one, to stay present, you know, or come back to being present. But also, I encourage you to have conversations. And, you know, pet people don't always think this is too crazy, but maybe some of the other people that aren't pet people, but talk to your pet. And share your feelings, share your time with them, and let them know how you feel. And they might not understand the words, but they can feel the feelings that come through. And also, I found that that really helps the humans process. You know, like you said, you have to lean into this. You have to process this. It's not going away. And there's less guilt, there's less anxiety and remorse if you're able to be able to, you know, kind of talk about it, and share your love. It doesn't have to be talking about going to the Rainbow Bridge. It's talking about how much they mean to you. So let me clarify that. And what, you know, that relationship means to you, and spending quality time with them. Also, you know, I have them, there is some planning and some things to think about how they want that to happen, and what do they think that feels right to them. There's so many options when that time comes, what they want to do and how they want to handle it. And I kind of go into some of that with them so that they know, and I have a bunch of resources for them so that they can think about it, so that more often than not, now as pets, that we have pets, we're making the choice for them. You know, pets do pass on their own, but you know, we often have to make that choice. And we're not designed to really do that, you know, but we know that it's in their best interest at some point if they're in too much pain, or they just don't have that quality of life anymore. And so talking to my clients about that and letting them know, it might seem a stretch at first to hear this, but it's really a gift to be able to help make that decision for them. And I've been through it myself with a number of pets and hundreds of clients. And I can tell you that planning and making a choice to end the suffering of your pet is far more humane and such a gift and an honor. And honor is maybe not the right word, but it's so meaningful. Instead of waiting for them or their body to deteriorate enough, or you know, we wouldn't want them to suffer that very end phase that they maybe would if they were in the wild, or, you know, have some kind of other. So if we can kind of change that mindset and help realize that they are relying on us, and we of course want to do the right thing for them and what's best for them. So that's really where we get you know, we feel a lot of pushback, whether, you know, because we love them and we want the best for them and we want them here forever. And we have to face that, and it just feels so ugly and icky to do that. So knowing that you're, you know, kind of reminding yourself and bringing that awareness to the forefront can really help the processing when the time comes. It's still unbearably difficult. There's no easy way around it. But knowing that you made a choice for them that was in their best interest is so incredibly selfless, that on the other side of this, when you start to grieve their loss, it will be easier. That makes sense.
Wow, that's what I love about that too is I feel like so many people cat hair. I'm not sure if you saw that floating around from Mr. Duke. Oh my goodness gracious. But so many people feel instead of feeling like you said what we should feel, which is honored that we were able to do that for them and to help them cross the rainbow bridge before it got to that really, really painful point. But I feel like so many people feel guilty for taking them in.
Yes.
And they're like, geez, is it too soon? What if they could have lived another couple of weeks? So I really appreciate your insight on just taking that pressure off and saying, no, like when you choose is a good time. So thank you so much for that. And I know we're getting kind of close to our end. So kind of my last question before I let you kind of talk a little bit more about how they can get in touch with you and who you work with and all that great stuff is if you could summarize what a pet is to a person and why that relationship is so special. As somebody who works and sees all stages along the way, I would love for you just to hear it from your words, why pets matter.
Oh my gosh, yeah. Well, I think that they're absolutely members, and it's such a different relationship because there's unconditional love, and 99% of your pets out there, you're it for them. So they're 100% vested in you, and they give and they give and they give, and so most of the time there aren't those complicated feelings of, if you're losing somebody that, you didn't get along great with, or you had a personality conflict with, but you still love them because they're family, and you've come close and you've drifted away. Like a pet is usually your constant. They're there, they're your constant companion, they're everlasting, they're innocent. So it's family, but it's like they're just, I don't even know how to put it into words, but they're just so incredibly special, and they touch us in such a way that is different than any other beings that we come in contact with, and they provide so much love to us in so many different ways.
Oh, that was beautiful. No, that was perfect. I'm over here crying as I'm holding
I
my
know.
Dookie. Oh my God. So as we kind of round the corner here to wrap up the show, I put your contact information in the comments. So wherever you guys are, make sure you check her out. Oh, Duke's leaving us. Okay, he's gone. Anyways, who should get in touch with you? Why should they get in touch with you? And I'll let you kind of wrap it up.
Yeah, so for sure, like we talked earlier, there's usually a shift that happens. We're specifically talking about hospice, and that's a huge core of what I do, but any kind of behavioral or physical or emotional change that's happened with an animal, or that's an animal, a pet that you brought into your home, that's a good time to reach out to me to help, whether it's a consultation or whether we do some body work. I give you a lot of times work to do at home and some changes that you can make. So things like the senior stuff that we talked about, integrating a new pet, any big life changes that you have affect your pet. We were just talking about that pre-show, right? So they get stressed, they have some anxiety. What's going on, and how can we support them? Or new adoptive, coming into a new home, you're starting to compete. All sorts of big life changes, or they injure themselves. Those are all reasons that people reach out to me and seek help. And then a lot of people that have sought me out for help with a particular pet, they end up bringing, if they have multiple pets, them in even just for support and maintenance, or their next pet, because they see how much value that brings to help support them in their life moving forward. Yeah.
Oh, That's wonderful. And I know you're out of the Minnesota area. A couple of my
Yep.
listeners are not in Minnesota. So do you do online consultations
Yep.
too? Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, that's awesome. Well, Jenny, we are so grateful for you. Thank you so very much for
You're
being here.
welcome.
And thank you for all the work that you do. So special.
Well, thank you for having me. It was wonderful. And thank you for everything that you do. I just love the work that you're doing too. It's so important.
Oh, thank you so much. I appreciate you. We'll see you next time.
Okay. Thank you.
Well, you guys, what did you think? I know I was over here holding my cat, and man, when she was talking about that anticipatory grief and just knowing we will most likely say goodbye to our pet at some time, it's so real. And I know we kind of all carried what I would like to call that secret. Oh, there he is. Yeah, Duke is just on fire tonight. Just a little bit of a diva showman. Oh my goodness. But it's like we carry that secret fear with us. And so I loved all of Jenny's points. If you guys aren't on my email list, head on over to mickyspear.com. Make sure you're on that because you're going to get the show notes, the replays, and some other great free goodies in there as well. And I guess the last thing that I would just say, you guys, is I've got a new song coming out in a couple weeks called Felt the Sun. And it's not really grief related. It's kind of fun. It's a summer song just because, this gets so heavy sometimes. Sometimes you just want to dance and just enjoy the sunshine. So just know I've got a song for you coming that way. And if you are on that email list, you'll be the first to get updates and to hear it. So I just want to provide good content for you guys. Thank you for subscribing. Thank you for following and sharing and commenting. It means the world. I will see you next week. Bye, everyone.